Hi, this is Pete Colasano, and I am a phys ed and health teacher at Eagle Academy in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. This is a presentation on mindfulness, how to do it for yourself, what it is and what it is not, and how you can do it in your classrooms. So oftentimes when we are examining new things, it's a good idea to understand what something isn't before we can understand what it is. So let's look at some things that mindfulness is not. Mindfulness is not a religion, neither is meditation. Often we have these preconceived notions about what something is. We've seen in movies or in TV shows scenes where people are meditating and we get this idea that it's some kind of religion, and it isn't. While there are people who want to have a spiritual experience, that is not necessary for you to get the benefits from meditation or from being mindful. It is not a cult. You do not need to join any crazy group to practice mindfulness or meditation. You likely will not levitate. Now, if somehow you do, my email address will be at the end of this presentation, and I would love to see that. I don't want to see it, I have to see it. So if you do levitate, you let me know. But it's not very likely. And finally, it's not about the Om. You may have seen in movies or TV shows somebody sitting cross-legged with their hands to their sides, pointing upwards, and they're going, Om, Om. Now, while the sound Om may be useful in meditating, it would be something that you wouldn't hear the person say. So you do not have to sit in a strange position and say Om repeatedly to meditate. If we can consolidate this whole idea of mindfulness down to one word, that one word would be clarity. We want to have a clear mind, one that isn't clouded, one that isn't clouding our judgments. What we're really trying to do is be fully immersed in the moment, full immersion in the present moment, what we call the now. At this very moment, whatever problems you have are probably not present. They're probably not in this room. If you're having troubles in a relationship, if you're having troubles paying your bills, if you're fearful of a conversation you have to have with somebody in the future, that's not right here, right now. All of our stresses, almost all of them, 90% of them, come from regrets of something in the past or fear and anxiety of something in the future. Very rarely are those things right here with us right now. So the practice of mindfulness will hopefully bring is clarity of mind and clarity in the moment. Why would we need that? Why would we need this clarity of the moment? Why would we need this mindfulness? Why would we need to meditate? There's a man named Walter Bradford Cannon who came up with the notion, the idea of fight or flight. And what fight or flight says is that in a given stressful moment, the human being, or even animals go through this as well, will decide, should I stay and fight or should I get the heck out of here? Now, our ancestors 50, 100, 200,000 years ago, they also dealt with fight or flight. So they dealt with fight or flight once a day, maybe a few times a week, but it was something that was supposed to be dealt with rarely. Fast forward to the present day, and we see that people are constantly in a state of fight or flight. They're constantly in a stressed state. If you were on your cell phone at all during the day on social media, you are most likely in a state of fight or flight. Did this person or that person like my post? Am I going to get a reaction from my tweet? Is anybody going to like my picture on Instagram? Why did this person say this? These are constant fight or flight reactions. These are stressful, situations. As much as we may want to be in these situations, they are stressful to our body and to our mind. Mindfulness and meditation help us deal with these everyday stresses that we actually put ourselves in, these situations that we find ourselves in, that we put ourselves in. Mindfulness can help us deal with those situations better. So what is the difference between mindfulness and meditation? I love using sports analogies, and this is a perfect opportunity to use one. Mindfulness would be like the sport of football, and meditation would be the NFL. See, football is a sport, but this sport is played on a very young level. It's played at the high school level. It's played at the college level. It's played at the club level. And it's even played in the NFL, in the pros, which would be the highest level, the most popular level. Meditation would be the NFL of the game mindfulness. It's the most well-known, it's the most practiced, and it's the one that people turn to most often. So while mindfulness is this overarching idea of being mindful, meditation is one form and the most popular form of mindfulness. So some people have asked, is mindfulness mind altering? Can you actually change brain chemistry? And the answer to that is yes. If we look at these two pictures of an MRI of a brain, we can see on the left-hand side there is a lot of activity going on in the brain. And on the right-hand side, after 10 minutes of meditating, the brain activity has slowed. It doesn't mean it shuts down, but it's definitely slowed to something more manageable. In this area, in this picture, we can see that an area of the brain which registers pain. After resting, the pain is still there, but after meditating, it has drastically reduced, at least in the sensors in the brain. It doesn't mean that the pain is gone or that it doesn't exist anymore or that the injury doesn't exist anymore. And this can also be, by the way, emotional pain. It doesn't mean that it has disappeared. It just means that your body has recognized that it's there and no longer is sending out these warning signs and these warning flares that you have to do something about it. How about this? We can see the brain scans on the bottom of someone who's using LSD. I can only hope that this was an experiment that was being done. But you can see that this particular test was looking at the bliss centers, areas of your brain which are recognizing you to be happy. And you can see when the subject was using LSD that there's a lot of areas of the brain that were fired up for happiness. When we look at the similar scans on the bottom, we can see that an expert meditator has similar scans to someone using LSD. It's obviously not the same, but there are clear differences from someone who has never meditated or meditates on a less frequent level on the bottom. What this shows us is that we can be happier when we meditate. I don't know about you, but I like the idea of being happier. And this graphic shows that it is absolutely possible to be happier simply by meditating for short periods of time during the day. All right, so let's give this a try. Let's see what it feels like to be mindful or to meditate. If you could, have a seat, be comfortable. And what I'd like you to do is to think of something in your life that really stresses you out. I mean, it really bothers you. It could be a relationship that you have with somebody that is not going so well. It could be something that you may have bills that you have to pay, the rent or the mortgage, and you're coming up a little short. It could be your job that is stressful. It could be school that is stressful. Whatever that thing is, I want you to bring yourself there. I really want you to feel it on the inside. You can feel this in your chest. You can feel the stress throughout your body. So I'd like you to think about that stress. Keep thinking of it. Make it present in your life right now. Now close your eyes and follow along with what I'm saying. You walk into a dark room. In the middle of this dark room, you see a simple wood table. As you get closer, you see on the table that there is a candle. This is your candle, so the candle can look any way you like. It could be a tall, thin candle. It could be a short, wide candle. The candle can be any color you like. It's up to you because it's your candle. This candle has a flame at the top of it. That flame can look any way you like. It can flicker fast, it can flicker slow, it can barely flicker at all. It's your candle and it's your flame, and it can do what you want it to do. Off of the top of this flickering flame are ribbons of smoke. So this is your candle, it's your flame, and it's your smoke. So you can have that ribbon of smoke going any way you like. It could be one single slow ribbon of smoke. It could be two ribbons that are moving quicker. It's your smoke. You can have it move any way you like. As you watch this candle with the flame and the smoke, you can make it look any way you choose, and you can change it at any time you like. All I want you to do is to stare at this candle with the flame and the smoke. Continue to watch the candle, the flame at the top, and the smoke. If you would like, you can speed up or slow down the flickering of the flame, or you can speed up or slow down the ribbons of smoke. Now, when you're ready, I would like you to open your eyes and try to find out if you're still thinking about the stress that you were thinking about before the candle and the flame and the smoke. Hopefully, you're no longer feeling those stresses. If you are, it doesn't mean that it would never work for you. It just means that it didn't work this time. If it did work for you, you can see how quickly you can change your state of mind. That is mindfulness. So if you've never done any kind of mindfulness or meditation before, a guided meditation is a great way to start. On the screen right now is a guided body scan. It's a 5-minute guided body scan. It's a fantastic introduction into mindfulness and meditation. It's super easy to do. There's no way you can mess up, because all you have to do is listen to the person who is doing the guided meditation and just follow along. I want to keep this video rather brief, so I'm not going to play this particular guided meditation, but it's really easy to actually find these. All you have to do is go on YouTube and type in the search bar for guided meditation, and however long you'd like to do it. They have them as short as 1 minute, and I'm sure they go all the way up to an hour or so. So you can do that on your own time, but I just wanted to show you, if you've never done it before and you're a little nervous about doing it right, although there is no perfectly right way to do it. A guided meditation is a great place to start, and there's unlimited guided meditations all over YouTube. It's an awesome opportunity for us to use modern technology for an ancient technique. Here are some other techniques that we can also investigate and give a practice to. A mantra. Earlier in the presentation, we talked about the Om, and now you don't have to say Om out loud, but you could use this word or sound Om as your mantra. The reason we use a word that doesn't have meaning is because we don't want to draw any kind of emotion while we're doing our mindfulness technique or our meditation. So for example, Om has no positive or negative meaning behind it. Whereas something like peace, which sounds so obvious and good, if you were living in the Middle East or if you were living in Myanmar at any point in your life, the idea of peace may actually be stressful. Some people might say, well, what about love? Love is a great word to use if it brings you comfort. But if you were recently divorced or if you recently broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, the word love is not necessarily going to bring you good thoughts and happy and positive thoughts. Whereas something like saying Om or one, the word one, it doesn't have any negative emotions. Hum. These are great things to say in your mind, only in your mind. We don't say those out loud. Say them in your mind. On your exhale is usually the best way to do it. They have no meaning. One technique that I prefer to use is just to say, on my inhale, I say in, and on my exhale, I say out. In, out. In, out. And I do that for however long I've decided to do the meditation for. And that keeps my mind in the present moment. Now, when you do these things, your mind sometimes will wander, especially if you're new to it. And the beauty of having the mantra is we have that thing to bring us back to. So if I'm saying in, out, in, out, I have to pay the mortgage today. Oh, my mind wandered off. I know exactly what I want to bring it back to, which is in, out, in, out. My son has a book fair tomorrow. Oh, there my mind went on to something else again, and I bring it right back to in and out, in and out. So that's the technique of using a mantra, one of my favorite ones to use. How about counting your breaths? This is an easy way to use breathing, which is very neutral. Nobody's thinking about past breaths that were so difficult or worrying about in the future, am I going to be able to breathe? Breathing is one of those things we pretty much take for granted that we'll continue doing. So it's a very neutral idea. So what you can do is you can pick a number, say 4 or 10. It doesn't matter. There's no magic in the number. So we're going to say, let's pick 4. So on the inhale, we inhale, and on the exhale, we count 1. And then we inhale again, exhale 2, inhale 3, inhale 4, and then we start over from inhale 1, inhale 2, inhale 3, inhale 4. And you could do this over and over as many times as you like for whatever amount of time you were wanting to meditate for. Another breathing technique while counting is called the ladder, and we're going to do this on the next slide. But it's a way of having kind of a visual in your head while also using the counting techniques. So we're going to do that right after this next one, which is the star. Now the star is a visual technique that you can use with your eyes open. Some people get very uncomfortable closing their eyes. Again, especially when it's the first time or very beginning of meditating. So with the star technique, if we started at the top of the star, we would go down to the right, breathing out, and then breathe in, hold, breathe out, breathe in, hold, breathe out, breathe in, hold, and we would continue to work our way around the star while still having our eyes open and simultaneously focusing on our breathing. This is a great technique for people who are uncomfortable closing their eyes to at least give it a shot to. And then they can start to feel what it's like to meditate, and then perhaps at a later time move on to doing it with their eyes closed. So let's get back to the ladder. In this technique, you would go up one side of the ladder with one inhale. So on your inhale, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. We pause at the top of the ladder, and then we come down the ladder on the exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we pause at the bottom of the ladder, and then we go back up the ladder on the inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause at the bottom, come back across. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause at the top, come down the ladder, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, we do that over and over for as long as we've decided we want to do the meditation. Again, this is a great way to keep your mind focused because you're concentrating on something on the inhale as well as the exhale. You have less time for random thoughts to enter your brain. Another possible idea, and this is more mindfulness than it is meditation, would be a mandala. Now somebody may say, what the heck is a mandala? But I guarantee that you've done it before. You just didn't call it a mandala. You called it a coloring book. And if you've ever really locked down and tried to do a great job in a coloring book, then you've done more or less the same thing that a mandala does. And it's focusing on the details. As you look at the picture on the screen, you can see that there's a lot of detail and fine coloring going on in this particular picture. That is the importance of doing a mandala. It's not just putting color on the paper, it's the detail that comes with that color. So you take your time and you fill it in and you do a great job. And as you're being super precise, all the rest of the things that stress you in your life will disappear, at least for the time that you're doing the mandala. If you're interested in giving a mandala a try, you can go do any internet search and just put in the word mandala. The spelling is right here on this page. And if you go to images, you'll see probably thousands of options, thousands of different ones that you could print out and give a try to. It's a pretty cool and pretty unique way of practicing mindfulness where it doesn't have to be perfectly quiet, but this will actually help you block out all the things that are going on around you. Now you may not even like that, or that may not be your favorite thing, or you may be looking for extra opportunities to be mindful. What you may not realize is there are constantly opportunities throughout the day to be mindful and to practice mindfulness. And something as simple as washing the dishes could be that very activity. Thich Nhat Hanh, who has written many books on meditation, says this: there are two ways to wash the dishes. The first is to wash the dishes in order to have clean dishes. The other is to wash the dishes in order to wash the dishes. What does that mean? Well, we've all probably grabbed a dish that needed to be clean or a pan that needed to be clean and just started scrubbing away, just doing whatever we could just to make sure that the pan was clean. What he's saying is you wash the dishes just to wash the dishes. Focus fully and put all your attention into washing the dishes. Every stroke of the sponge or the Brillo or the towel is on the dishes. And in time, the dishes will be clean. But all you're doing is focusing on the practice of washing the dishes. You could do this even with cutting the lawn. If you've cut your lawn before, you know that you go down in one direction, you turn around, and when you look, there's a line that was left by the wheels of your mower that you can follow. And you put your tire, your new tracks, on that same track to go back so you don't have too much overlap. And you can focus fully on this line as you're moving down your lawn. It's a great opportunity during a time where it may be very hot, or you may be working hard and you're like, this is just a pain. This is a great chance to actually practice your mindfulness. And it's a great opportunity to build patience, which is something we'll talk about in a little while. But there's all kinds of opportunities. This time of year in the fall when I'm making this recording, doing the leaves. You can be very mindful about doing the leaves. So you have all kinds of opportunities to be mindful. And what that really means is whatever you're doing, do only that. If you're doing the leaves, only do the leaves. Don't think about what you have to do at work the next day. Full focus on the leaves. Full focus on the lawn. Full focus on the dishes. That is mindfulness, because you'll be fully present and immersed in the moment. Okay, so how could we do this in our classrooms, right? That's the idea. We want to be able to bring this into our classrooms and help our students. So here's how we do it. I can't give you every possible option because I don't know your school. We could talk about it if you wanted to email me. I'll leave my email address at the end of this presentation. And I can give you some ideas based on what your school is like and your situation is like. But here's what we do, and then you can look at that and say, well, we can tailor it to our specific needs. It would be best if you could do it for at least 5 minutes and up to as many as 15 minutes each session. Now that may sound like a lot of time, and some people would say that's a waste of 5 to 15 minutes each day. But you would never say that about the time you spend going to the gym. You would never say that about the time you spend reading a book. You would never say that about the time you spend out on a run, because you know those things are benefiting you. You would never say, oh, 50 minutes running, that's an incredible waste of time. But we know that that's an investment in your health and your physique and your body composition and your cardiovascular output. It's the same with meditation and mindfulness. 5 minutes is not a waste. If that 5 minutes creates a student who's more focused, who can pay attention more, who can do better on tests, is more well behaved, that's not a waste of time. The waste of time would be not doing it, not taking the opportunity. It's an opportunity for those kids to get better. It's an opportunity for you to get better. That's not a waste. That would never be a waste. So don't look at it that way, and don't let anybody else look at it that way. Most studies show that the effects aren't really going to kick in until at least 3 minutes into the meditation. So if it takes at least 3 minutes to get kind of started, you want to go for at least another 2 minutes to get some of that benefit. Upwards of 15 minutes would even be better, okay? But we would like it to be at least 5 minutes. Ideally, you would do this twice a day. Now again, you're going to get some people who say, well, we're wasting now anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes a day. But it's not a waste. If your test scores go up, if your behavior improves, if you have high achieving students and their level of stress is reduced, this is not a waste. This is a massive and worthwhile benefit that we should be offering to our students. And it's a benefit that we should be offering to ourselves. If you feel better, if you are better, then you're going to be a better teacher. You're going to be able to offer better opportunities for your students. So if we can, we would like to do it twice a day. What are some of the benefits that you can expect? I mean, if you're going to put this time in, if you're going to use 10 to 30 minutes a day, on meditation or mindfulness, what are the benefits that you can expect? And they are not minor benefits. One of the most important benefits you can have is self-control and self-discipline. If we look at successful people, I would suspect that the number one trait that you'll find in all successful people is self-control. They have the ability to discipline themselves to do the things that they need to do when they need to do it. Going back to my sports analogies, all your great quarterbacks in football have incredible self-control. If you think of Hall of Fame quarterbacks, all-time great quarterbacks, on the field they have self-control, high levels of self-control. Everything else works off of that, and they become very successful. Increased patience. Patience is a result of higher self-control. This is huge when you have some students who have had discipline problems in the past. If you can get students to wait 1 second before they react to something that happened to them, that could be the difference between them getting in massive trouble and them getting in no trouble at all. It could be the difference between a suspension and a detention. It could be the difference between cracking and being able to work through stressful times. What about improved attention and focus? If your brain is not scattered all over the place on all these different thoughts, then you can be more focused on what is being taught in the classroom. This is enormous. This is enormous. The Buddhists would call it monkey brain, that your brain is jumping from branch to branch to branch, from thought to thought to thought. We're trying to avoid that. When you're being mindful, your brain is not jumping from thought to thought to thought. It's focused on what's going on in the present moment. This is vital in the classroom. And this is something that can be increased simply by a meditation and mindful practice. Finally, control of stresses and anxiety. This often happens on the higher end of our students and the lower end of our students. We know we have high achieving students that feel a lot of pressure to get higher grades, to do well on their tests, to do well on standardized tests, to not mess up. We have students on the lower end who are dealing with other kind of stresses that happen to them outside of school. Social stress, social anxiety, gangs, you name it. And everyone in between. Family stresses, relationship stress, whatever they may be. If we can gain a higher level of control over this stress, over this anxiety, we're going to do better. We'll be more successful. And this is the whole point. If you look at this list is full of ways for us to have more control over our mind and allow less outside interference. Okay. So the one thing I can tell you is that mindfulness and meditation is not something that you dabble in. It's something that you have to practice over and over and over again. Unfortunately, you won't get much benefit from practicing mindfulness once a week, once a month. It's something that you have to do to become good at it. As Malcolm Gladwell said, practice isn't the thing you do once you're good, it's the thing you do that makes you good. To get better at mindfulness, and the only way to get better at meditation and mindfulness, is to practice it. You have to do it all the time. It's something that you're going to have to make a commitment to. To see results from mindfulness or meditation, you're going to have to do it consistently. It has to become part of your culture. It has to become part of who you are and how you do things. It has to be a practice. Finally, I'll leave you with this thought. Epictetus, who was a Stoic philosopher, said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The Stoics believe the only way to be master of yourself is to be master of your mind, because it's the only thing that you have full control over. As you see in the picture, Epictetus walked with a crutch. And that is because as a very young boy, he was a slave and his owners broke his leg. And because he was a slave, They didn't do much to fix the broken leg, so he walked with a limp his entire life. Epictetus knows what it means to be master of himself, because if you read all of his readings, never once did he mention his broken leg. Never once did he mention that he was a slave, because he didn't look at those things as important to his mental state. Although he was born a slave, as he grew up and became a man, he was an advisor to the Caesar, who was the king of Rome. He never let things outside his mind control what went on inside his mind. He understood what it meant to be master of himself. Mindfulness and meditation is one really strong tool that you can use to be master of yourself, to be the master of your mind. And the one who is master of his mind is free. Mindfulness and meditation is one path and one way for you to be more free. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you're interested in contacting me, here is a huge list of ways you can contact me. You can get me by email. You can get me on my website, PeteColasano.com. I have a podcast on SoundCloud. You can also find the podcast on iTunes. I have a YouTube channel where we have all different kinds of clips for different personal development topics. You can find me on Twitter at Pete Colasano and on Facebook at Pete Colasano blog. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you share it with some of your friends. I hope you reach out to me and tell me how you liked it. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.